How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Anime Rangers X video, and this game has been out for a pretty decent amount of time now. I've been playing since basically the beginning, so I'm going to just be doing a review of mostly every update. I say mostly because I didn't play the Yuta event update, so I'm just going to exclude that from this list. So I guess you could say that the title is a bit clickbait. So everything from the Easter event update to the Fate update I'm going to be covering, and I just realized I need to add the Fate update to this list. So a couple disclaimers before we get into everything. I did not play the Yuta event like I said a little bit ago. I played when the game got out of that DMCA situation thing, so the Easter update. So again, just going to start from there. And second, this is all my opinion. You can let me know if you disagree or agree with anything I say. It's up to you, but again, this is only my opinion, and I'll go over as much information as I can for each update on this list. So as you can see here, I'm just going to be following a pretty standard tier list criteria ranking. I'll just start all the way at the top at peak, best updates out there, going down to great, good, kind of a mid tier right here, bad, and then I also have a never again category. I don't know if this will be used at all, but I thought I would add it there if I get heated and think a update deserves to be there. So let's actually get started now. So starting with the Easter event, when the game was pretty new, I think it was only like a week old at this point or around that time frame, people were still building up their accounts. They were still getting some of the best units, Gojo, Madara, Gogeta, and if you had Yuta, you had him. He was obviously really good. And the main endgame event at that time was this Easter event. So basically it was just a standard map, and you would go in and there would be a bunny with I think around 1,000,000 HP, and once you killed that bunny, an enraged version of him spawned, and he had even more health. He also regenerated, I believe, when he killed some of your units. I should have some gameplay of this, I think. But yeah, this update was like fine. I think it'll go into good for now. When it comes to anime tower defense games, I know ARX isn't really like a tower defense game, but I'm still gonna just put it in that category for Roblox games. When a new game in the genre releases, the progression is usually pretty fun. It can't really get that bad unless the gameplay is just absolutely horrid. So everybody's having a good time just playing, getting what they can, and this Easter event basically just topped that off for the time being. So again, it'll stay in good for now, but it'll probably move down once other updates get talked about. Now, moving on to the Tokyo Ghoul update. This was update 1, and I remember this coming out, and I was honestly really underwhelmed with this update, and I was kind of mad, to be honest. This update is obviously when Eto came out, and back then she was I believe good. She was from Portals, and I'll get into that and why this update was so bad in the first place in a second. But obviously she's like the best unit in the game now, but there was like 12 other units I believe that were added. I'm not going to go over every single unit from every update, but you get the idea. Eto herself was from Ghoul Portals, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but if you didn't play this game back then, basically Ranger stages were time gated. Yes, they were time gated, and the only way to get these portals was from Ranger stages. So say you complete a Tokyo Ghoul Ranger stage, there's a 20-minute cooldown on that, and also the portal only drops at like a 20% rate. Keep in mind that Eto is still like a 1% drop chance, okay, on the highest portal. It might have even been lower, but considering how time-gated things were and how honestly time-gated progression was to begin with, it created just a bad mix of gameplay and waiting and just not anything good to come out of it at all. Tournaments were added, and I believe there was a unit, Rayleigh or something. I don't even know if he's in the game. He could just be really bad. I don't even know if he was given out or not, because tournaments were just awful back then. They were just in infinite mode, and people had up to like 2-day long runs. It was not fun. I was complaining about this back when this game came out, or when the update came out. So yeah, other than a battle pass with Umbrella Fang, like based off of Sakamoto days, Umbrella Fang got some use later on. Eto's still viable now, but the rest is kind of just whatever. So this update, I think it's gonna go bad. I would put it mid, but like back when this game was run by a different team, they didn't know how to do progression well. So I'm gonna honestly just put it in bad. Moving on to the Cid update, or update 1.5. Back then, I think I gave this update too much trash. I was pretty bad still, and while I think the Tokyo Ghoul update was really bad, I think this could go bottom of meh. It was just whatever. It was a 0.5 update. Basically, there was a boss event again, and this featured Cid. He was a 0.1% chance to get, but the rest of the rewards were just awful. Like a 3% to get 1 trait reroll, 25% to get like 1 to 2 stack keys, and 5 to 15 gems 100% of the time. Like really? And Cid had a stock of 30,000, but I believe his stock increased after a couple days or something, because the devs decided to do that. And that was basically it. We had like 2 other units. I guess Elizabeth, or Blood Moon, was a secret unit added on the rate up banner. She was used for a while, not very much used now. And then Delta, nobody uses her. So overall, I think back then I gave this update too much trash, but I'm gonna put it, this is like bottom of meh, or just what, it was just whatever, nothing really like good about it, just another mini game mode to play. And yeah, now moving on to update 2, this was a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure update, and keep in mind this is still when the game was run by that old development group, not Boss Studio, so everything was still kind of wonk. We did get 9 new units, you know, notably Poochie with that quest that you had to do to get him. I still don't even have him. I'm on like the last quest step. We did get units like Giorno, which people used to use, but now he's just completely obsolete. But we also got the legendary version of Dio, I believe, which in the next update, which I'll go over after this, he was able to be evoed into Dio over Heaven. I believe that's how it worked. So overall units were like fine, I guess you can say, pretty mediocre as well. There was a new lobby rework into not so much of a city, but kind of just what was a city, but not like a cyberpunk theme city. It was more just like a Japanese style, I guess you can say. It looked all right, but traversing places was a little annoying, even with like the markers above each place. It was just kind of convoluted, I feel. We did get the average story and ranger stages with portals, but again, portals were time gated behind ranger stages, and to get Poochie actually to do that quest, you needed to get him from a portal. We all know how the portals went back then, especially with the Tokyo Ghoul update, so I don't even need to explain what was wrong with that. We did also get an Infinity Castle game mode based off of Demon Slayer. You would just go up to 100 floors, and you could notably get Gyutaro, which was a crazy bleed unit that people were abusing in the next following updates, but he eventually got nerfed and is horrible now. But I believe you could also get Akaza. But the game mode itself, like the map looked cool and stuff, but it was a path game mode. We all know how nobody really likes path game modes. They're just annoying. It was just a boring game mode. People only did it for gems, trait rerolls, and notably Gyutaro. And I just realized we're not even done yet. We still have the boss attack game mode to go over. Now, this was pretty beloved by a lot of people. Basically, back then, you would just go into where the test place is now. You would do as much damage as you could to that boss. Depending on how much damage you did, you would get tokens, and you could buy an unlimited amount of trait rules, basically. And this actually got removed a while later, which I'll go over then. But this was a kind of newer endgame activity for people with Sovereign, all the good traits, to get as much damage as they could and get a bunch of trait rerolls, notably. So honestly, content-wise, I mean, this update had honestly a lot to offer. It's just, it was really held back by the devs deciding to lock portals behind ranger stages and time gating that again. So I'm probably gonna put it like top of meh or mid. Again, I would put it good, and I might put it up later. You know what? This is kind of tough. I'm gonna put it in good, but this is, I want you to know this is the bottom of the barrel good, okay? It's right next to mid, okay? So just keep that in mind, and let's move on. I actually just added this picture, as you can see in the bottom left here. This was the JoJo's Update Part 2, notably Steel Ball Run, I believe. And this is when Boss Studio took over the game. If you think that's good or not, you know, that's a different video. But in this update specifically, the new dev team just made the game way more playable. There was mostly a lot of quality of life. We did get a new story and raid game mode, and a lot of people were grinding the raids back then as an end game activity as well. The enemies back then they had a lot of HP. They had like 200 million, and that sounds like nothing now. But back then, if you weren't running like Utero, or you had like Sovereign Yuta or something, this could be wrong, but like it would take a while to kill them, and you would probably want to play with other people doing the raids. We did get our first ranger unit, being Dio over Heaven. This was an evolution of the previous legendary Dio, and he also had a quest just like Poochie, and this quest was a little more manageable, I believe, or at least more worth doing over Poochie's quest. We also did get 3 other mythic units. We did get Johnny, which he was meta for a while, fallen off now, but he was very good. Jiro or Gyro, I don't know how to say his name, he wasn't really used. And Funny President, even with his buffs recently, not very much used. So notably, Dio over Heaven and Johnny were 2 great units to get, and made people play the game a lot more. Going over the quality of life that made this update so good, Ranger stage cooldown was removed. There was a gold shop overhaul, giving better rewards in general. Quests were buffed, giving more gems, stuff like that. Buffed the portal rates specifically, so they were actually obtainable in a good way. Some more AFK things like auto voting to start the match. Removing failed chance on gear crafting. I mean, can you imagine you're trying to craft like a Soul of Pure Agony, and then it just breaks and it doesn't craft because you got unlucky? That would be crazy. But actually, I guess that's not a gear, but you get what I'm trying to say. And with those being the main quality of lives, I mean, the game was just way more playable, and this is when I was playing a lot more specifically because I thought this update was great. And this was a time you can easily farm like Madara, Gogeta, all those other ranger stage units that were worth getting at the time. So this update specifically, I'm gonna put it, I want to put it in peak, but I'm like in the middle of peak and great. I'm gonna put it in peak. I honestly think this will be one of the only updates that are in peak I'm gonna be honest. This was a great update and brought changes to the game that should have been on release. You know, I might take that statement back, saying that this update was the only one that was going to be in peak, because we got this summer update. And this update was the second update after Boss Studio took over the game. We did get 5 units, with the best one probably being Yuta, which great support, is still good now and is still being used to this day. But we also got like Rimuru, Azure Demon, I forget what this person's from, I think Blue Exorcist, but I could be wrong. We got Kisame, and then we also got Escanor, which was used for some time in later updates down the line when it came to, I guess, cheesing bosses or just depleting their health like crazy, but not very much used anymore. The game mode itself, just a standard wave game mode. You know, it was like 2 waves, I believe, with an Uta boss spawning at the end. It was relatively easy though. People were trying to find ways to brute force getting to the gate, because I think there was a bug that you could destroy the gate before you were supposed to, leading to very short clear times. So there was also a shop to complement the game mode itself. You would get tokens from completing the game mode, and then you could spend it for almost whatever you want, you know, evo items, trait rerolls, or whatever. But also something to mention, from the summer game mode itself, you would also get the summer gear set, which is probably high demand now since it's unobtainable, but a lot of people do have this set and it goes up for a decent amount when it comes to trading. And you know, it's always nice getting gears that are RNG chance and not necessarily crafting. Like, of course it's nice to craft every once in a while, but sometimes it's also nice just to have RNG gear sets, let's be real. When it came to new mechanics, we did get Raid and Portal 2x speed, which is set a precedent for what it is now, but this was great, especially for raids that may have taken a lot longer than every other game mode. But we also got some quality of life like auto trait reroll, auto stat allocation, auto upgrade system, which we have now finally got fixed. Like, if you didn't know, the auto upgrade system in game would still upgrade your units even when you had that option for them to get upgraded turned off, and you would have to leave and join back for it to be fixed and not actually upgrade the unit you didn't want it to. So like, the fact that it was fixed like only a couple weeks ago is kind of crazy. But I also believe the auto trait reroll game pass or system, I guess I should say, was bugged on the release of this update, meaning it was actually rolling off the traits you wanted. That's a little crazy, but we also got 2x weekend event rewards, which are in the game now. Usually people would tell you that, you know, save your rerolls for the weekend because that's when you have a higher chance of getting sovereign. But now you go up to somebody on the street and you ask them how many trait rerolls you got in Anime Rangers X, they tell you they have 5 million. So not very much of an issue anymore, but still nice. And yeah, that's about it for this update. Honestly, I will put this one in peak as well. I'm going to... It's kind of hard if I want to put it above the Steel Ball Run update or not, but this is actually kind of hard. I have to think about this one for a second. I'm honestly going to keep it below the Steel Ball Run update just because I was actually manually playing a lot more during the Steel Ball Run update, since a lot of the bad game mechanics got revamped and got way better. Moving on, we got our first Bleach update, the 1000-Year Blood War arc, as you can see right here. There was actually a part 2 to this, which I guess I'll go over as well. But sticking for part 1 of the update right now, we did get 4 units, with them being Aizen, we got Shinji, we got Yuhaba, and we also got, I believe his name is Kisuke. I'll put him up on the screen. Aizen, very good, was meta for a while, kind of fell off, but still very good unit. Shinji, kind of just used for like nuking bosses when his passive actually worked and wasn't gutted. Yuhaba was meta for a little bit, fell off pretty quick though, and then Kisuke was just pretty bad. Of course, there were new ranger and story stages, and we also got a quest line for Aizen, just like Dio and Pucci, so you know, just a nice little thing to grind for. And when it comes to game modes, we did get a boss rush game mode, and guess what? This was a multi-path game mode, and again, nobody really likes these game modes that much. It was mostly just boring. It took a while for some of the enemies to spawn. You had to wait to change paths, so it was easy to forget that you had a path open and you could just die to one enemy. That is what it is. You know, you can argue, oh, you're not paying attention, whatever. Just a pretty bad and bland game mode, pretty boring. So, and last thing, we did get trading. I don't trade too much. I traded for a Gogeta, but you may have traded more than me, probably. So you can let me know what you think about trading overall and if it ruined the game's economy or not. But that's about it for this update. So off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything too bad this update had to offer. So I'll probably put it in good. I think good's a good spot to have it. You could maybe argue it was great, but honestly, I'll put it over the Easter event and JoJo update so far, and we'll leave it in good for now. Moving on to part 2 of the Bleach update. Again, this was just an addition to the first Bleach update that we just ranked, and with some quality of life mixed in there. But we did get 4 new units, with them being Soul Captain, which I actually don't even know who that is, I'm not gonna lie. We got Yoruichi, we got Hana, and we got Ichigo, of course. Soul Captain, I don't know his kit, because I just don't know what character that is. Yoruichi was very good at rushing. She did a lot of good damage, but the thing is, when the Sungjin Woo evolution came out, she basically does not go into any team now. Maybe if you're speedrunning short stages or something, but otherwise she isn't really used too much anymore, at least when it comes to high level teams. Hana is a kind of situational unit because she buffs bleed units and just fits in a bleed team overall. So if that's ever meta or whatever, she'll be good there. And then Ichigo, just your standard DPS unit, fell off pretty quick as well, but he was alright for the time being, but he's not really used anymore. To get Hana, it was just another portal, so that was a new addition, I guess. But there were a lot of new souls added in this update. Specifically, there's a new item called the Soul Catcher, which made getting souls easier. There were 2 limited souls, with them being the Soul of Blood and Soul of Thundering Fury, and this was kind of controversial because they were limited for like only a week or something, and specifically the Soul of Thundering Fury was a pretty high meta soul that not a lot of people got. So when the time came that it was used and you couldn't get it anymore, it caused kind of a ruckus in the community. The 3 other souls that are still obtainable is the Soul of Unemployment, the Soul of Steel Ball, and the Soul of Challenges. Soul of Unemployment mostly just for like really fast characters. Soul of Steel Ball, I don't know what that does, but I think it's from the raids. Like the Steel Ball Run raids, or it's from the raid shop. And Soul of Challenges is an extremely rare soul that you get from challenges, and I don't even think it's that good. With this update came a lot of quality of life. We finally got Banner Pity for Mythics. Should have been in the game since day one, but you could switch unit tier evos or remove it before if you accidentally put hyper on a unit that wants ultra. A little bit of a downgrade, but it wasn't the end of the world, but still it's nice. You could change this now. There's a unit selection banner. You can choose a specific banner unit every 24 hours. Crimson Owl got a rework. I'm pretty sure this is part of the meta where she isn't good anymore and she just got buffed to try to be better, but it's still bad. The Trident gear got buffed, which pretty sure that's referring to the summer gear, and removed rewards popping up at the end of the game. So that's basically all the notable quality of life improvements that were added. So to rate this update, this was a part 2 update, but I mean pretty solid, I would say. A little controversy with the limited souls, but I'll put this in probably in good as well. Probably here, I would say, above the Easter event again. I think that's probably a good placement, so we'll leave that there. Now let's move on to the Chainsaw Man update. And when I reviewed this update in one of my videos, it's actually one of my most well-performing videos as of recording. I think the update is fine. Like with a lot of these updates, they're kind of just like whatever. It's not like every update blows my mind, and obviously that's not going to happen, but just thought I would point that out. When it comes to the units that were added, we did get Power, we got Himeno, we got Denji, and of course we got Makima. And we did get some 3 battle pass units. This was the battle pass where S-Death was in. I forget what anime that is that she's from, but there's some other units like Pink Sniper and Last Survivor. I know Pink Sniper was pretty good, and S-Death is pretty solid as well. But the unit selection for the Chainsaw Man units themselves, they're all right. I think you could have picked like maybe Reze or like Kobeni, just some more interesting characters. We did get a new raid this update, the Graveyard raid, and the map was just kind of sloppy. It looked kind of cool because it was like that graveyard from the manga. I don't know if it was in the anime. I think it's in the anime. I can't remember, but it looked pretty cool. But there was like a big hole in the map, and it was just kind of unpolished. It was very easy to fall down that hole, and it was just weird to see that. With a lot of the raids, they just throw in random enemies from just different animes, and it kind of just throws off the vibe. You would expect all Chainsaw Man enemies, but there wasn't. There's like Bleach units in there. It's always like that with the game modes nowadays, but I think it would be cool to have more specific enemies from certain franchises when it comes to the activities that are added. Just my opinion. This is where we got stat boosters, which basically you can upgrade a stat from O to O plus or something like that. And back then, at least in this update, these were actually rare, but now they are not rare. You have like over 1,000 now, like easily, because of the Swarm event. So a once rare currency got completely destroyed by the Swarm event. Let's just say that. There was a new soul, the Soul of the Devil, but I kind of forget what this does. I don't think I have it. And when it comes to quality of life, nothing really crazy. I mean, I guess Shiny Transfer was a good addition. There was a forced banner system that ensures updated banners reflect the newest content. Actually, that's pretty good. And then added 5 new team slots for better squad management. So I mean, 3 like pretty decent quality of life improvements, but that's about it for the update. I should have mentioned that boss attack game mode got removed because units were doing a lot of damage now. Eto was top of meta again. Because of her rework, she was doing a lot of damage. The amount of tokens people were gaining because of the boss attack mode was too many tokens. And I first argued that it was a bad idea to get rid of the game mode, but I get why they did it at the end of the day. So it makes sense to me now. Because that quote unquote end game mode was removed, it kind of caused a lot of commotion in the community, like I was just explaining. So when it comes to this update, I'll probably put it in meh. I don't think it was necessarily good. Unit choices could have been a little bit better. The raid map could have been a little more optimized to, you know, where you don't fall through the map. Even though these are little things that I'm picking at, I still think I should mention them, so we'll put it top of meh. I still think it's far ahead of the Cid update. Just keep that in mind, even though they're next to each other, but that's where I'm going to place it. Now, moving on to the Sword Art Online update. I know if you're looking down here at the next updates, the Dragon Ball Z update was ahead of that, but that was just a mistake. I'm going to cover the Sword Art Online update, and this one was actually a very solid update. I will give it that. We did get 4 new units, with that being Kirito, Asuna, I believe, and 2 others named Virtual Sniper and Immortal Captain. I know Kirito was actually pretty usable, same with the Virtual Sniper, but then Immortal Captain and Asuna, just whatever units again. There were new story and ranger stages, and especially with the ranger stages, you were playing them a lot because they had certain colored crystals that you needed to craft a new gear set, which was tailored towards more of the Sword Art Online characters, and also just crit characters in general, like Johnny from the Steel Ball Run update. So I think it's cool that there was like a little bit of a crit meta for a little, but that kind of fell off after a couple updates. There were 2 new game modes though, and one was the Rifts game mode, and this is another multipath game mode, and at first it was really hard, I would say, at least when you're trying to solo it. And I said in my update review video that I liked that I had to use my brain to try to figure a team that could get the farthest, and you didn't necessarily need to clear all the way, because the farther you got, the, you know, you would still get tokens, but you would only get the max amount of tokens if you completed the rift. So cool little system there. But even though I said in that video that I was going to revisit it, since I liked using my brain, I didn't revisit it almost at all. So but the other game mode that we got was the dungeon game mode, and this is still in the game today. I think this was a great game mode. Again, it was pretty prominent at this point that this game tailors towards being AFK and leaving it on in the background or leaving it on overnight. So this dungeon game mode was perfect. You can go up very high levels, get a lot of chests, get a lot of rewards, and, you know, having different difficulties is great for any type of player depending on what stage of the game you are. And there was also some modifiers to sometimes change up team comps, but otherwise just a pretty solid game mode overall. Aizen also did get a rework this update because his passive before just took too much time to build up, and it just wasn't really viable for any of the content in the game at the point. At the time, even though I thought it was a cool passive, it still got reworked. So we did get a new soul of the Virtual, which you could get out of platinum chests, I believe, but you could also craft it, but it was really expensive. But it was tailored towards crit characters, so that's pretty cool. When it comes to quality of life, this is where we got 3 times speed, which kind of at a big disadvantage if you don't have 3 times speed now, but don't worry because I don't have 3 times speed. So, but we got more gear capacity. You could restart the matches now, which is nice. And the most important thing this update added was now you could watch ads in the AFK chamber to boost rewards. That's what I'm talking about. But in all honesty, pretty good update. I'm gonna give this one a great. This will be the first great. Don't think it's peak, but I think this was just a very solid update. So I think it deserves the great title. Moving on to the Dragon Ball Z update. This was probably the most disliked update throughout the community, at least in a while. Yeah, this was just a total disaster. I'm gonna keep it a buck. When it comes to the units, we got Perfect Bio Android, Infant Conqueror, Cybernetic Fusion, Prodigy, plus some evolutions, Primal Fusion or Super Saiyan Gogeta, Omega Dragon Lord or Shenron, and then the Drink. And when it comes to these units, the Drink was a decent DPS for a little bit. That's about it. Shenron still used today, good debuffer, decent damage, just all around solid unit. Super Saiyan Gogeta or Primal Fusion still used today, good debuffer, good support. Yeah, very solid. Prodigy, he was a good DPS for a little. Fell off. Cybernetic Fusion, no. Infant Conqueror, no. And Perfect Bio Android was only used because his ultimate was bugged and doing a lot more damage and reaching farther than intended, or it might have just been doing a lot more damage than intended. He's just off the list now. Gogeta from the Ranger stages, like the old Gogeta, got a rework, and he was still useless in this sense. Got new story and Ranger stages like usual, but these Ranger stages, this is where you got Cybernetic Fusion and Prodigy, and they were both 0.25% chances from this last act of the Ranger stage. These chances were insane. It's almost nothing compared to now. They were actually needed for new Divine and Ranger trials that were added to get Omega Shenron and to get Perfect Bio Android. So if you wanted these 2 pretty decent units, especially Shenron, you would need to get Cybernetic Fusion and Prodigy, and those chances were abysmal, so it was just so hard to get those units. And don't even get me started how the portals dropped, I believe in Hourglass, which is like a 0.75% chance to evolve Prodigy into like, oh, it was just so annoying. There were so many drop chances that you need, and you needed so much luck in your favor to get anywhere in this update. And this goes with the Dragon Summoning Ritual 2. To actually get Omega Shenron or some other rewards, whatever you wanted, you would have to collect 7 Dragon Balls, and one of these was from a dungeon chest, and if you were soft locked at a high dungeon level, you were just basically done for. Now, another one of the big problems during this update was the new boss event. At first, this boss event was how you got Super Saiyan Gogeta. Again, very good unit still. But the boss had like 20 billion HP or something at the start. Again, now that's like nothing, but back then that was pretty difficult if you didn't have like top tier souls and stuff like that. So he got nerfed down to like 2 billion HP. And again, it was just a mess at the start. You also got one of the Dragon Balls from this boss event mode, so it was just even more inaccessible to get Omega Shenron or even just Super Saiyan Gogeta in the first place. So there was also a new soul that was added, Soul of the Dragon Fury, which I think is actually used sometimes still. This was from the dragon summoning ritual, so you either chose Omega Shenron or the Dragon Soul and like some other rewards. So, you know, it wasn't easy to get, especially if you had to do the ritual twice if you wanted Shenron and the soul. So the only quality of life as well was just units receiving upgrades if they were already on field. So, I mean, that's good, but like, oh, this update, like, was a doozy. You could probably hear me talking about it. Like, I'm all over the place. I don't even know how to describe everything. It's just, it was a mess. So because of that, I'm going to put this in bad tier. I really don't think it's never again tier, because I think some ideas like the trials are pretty good, as long as they're not bugged. But other than that, it was just a bad update overall. Definitely worse than the Tokyo Ghoul update. Well, actually, was it? Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep it there. Let's keep it there. Moving on to the Berserk update. I remember looking one day, I saw a sneak and I was like, wait, that's the Eclipse. No way, there's gonna be a Berserk update. And at this point, I was like, oh, great, they're gonna butcher it. This update was okay. When it comes to units, we got Guts, we got Skull Knight, we got Griffith, of course. We actually got two versions of Griffith. You can get a light Griffith or a dark Griffith, which I think is very cool. We also got, I think the main character from Dr. Stone as a leaderboard reward. I think it was from Dungeons. So yeah, he's a good support, but very rare. So Guts, pretty underwhelming. He did get buffed, but it's still not worth using anymore. Skull Knight, very good support, still used occasionally now. When it comes to Griffith, the two modes that he had, his light form is still used all the time. He's the best support in the game for sure, but his dark form is a very niche DPS. The only activity I see him being used in is maybe Rifts. That's the only activity I could see him being used in. And then that Dr. Stone unit, I don't have him, but I think he's just a very solid support. Again, the classic story and ranger stages. There was a portal this time, and there was also a new missions tab added for like easy, normal, and hard difficulties to get newer players mostly, and even older players, up to speed and get some free rewards and just speed up progression a little bit. But yeah, when it came to trials, there was a Griffith trial, and that was about it. That was a pretty easy trial compared to the Dragon Ball Z trials for some of the characters. So I'm happy about that. Some cool mechanics inside the trial. So yeah, not bad. We got 3 craftable souls, being this Domain of Love Soul, the Soul of Pure Agony, Soul of Infinite Riches. These are all top tier souls still. Probably will be for a while. Surely, right? Surely. But they're just souls of already really good souls. So there was a Crying Behelit soul, but this was only really used for quests or the Griffith trial. That's about it. Tournaments finally got reworked because they were just sitting there like obsolete forever. It was still the tournaments for when it was added back in like update 1, which was, again, a bad update. So good that it got reworked, and it's actually pretty decent when it comes to the gameplay of them. And now it's not 2 days that you have to spend in one tournament game. It's like more like 10 minutes. So that's great. Oh, and I just remembered something. When it comes to the quality of life, for the Gohan trial, you used to have to do like 50, or maybe I think it was 30 rifts, and they nerfed this to 10 rifts. And you're probably thinking like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. But the only thing they did was completely wipe the quest for everyone. So say you just had to do the rifts in that quest, well, guess what? You got to do the quest over again. And when the update dropped, if you were lucky enough, you were able to get this quest item for Gohan or Prodigy for free for whatever reason. Yeah, I don't know how this happened, but it was a bad mix of the people that didn't get the Evo item and also got their Gohan trial reset, and the people that got the Gohan evolution item and were happy. So it was, again, crazy. That's really the only like notable quality of life. So that was it for the Berserk update. This, again, was kind of just whatever. Like, this was just an okay update. I was kind of disappointed for it being Berserk, because if you watch my channel a lot, you know I love Berserk. So I'm going to put it in probably the top of meh. Definitely better than the Chainsaw Man update, I would say. Yeah, definitely for sure, but still probably doesn't deserve good or great or peak. Moving on to the fall event. Now, this was one of the bigger updates in a while, and it's still in the game now. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's getting removed in a couple days, though. We did get 7 new units, though, with one of them being Rascal, which is the guy from Bunny Girl Senpai. I forget his name. Got Akuma from, I don't remember the anime. Phaeton or Spider from Hunter x Hunter, Speedster or Akira from Akira, Judo Priest from I'm not sure what, Iona Koji, which is actually Lelouch from Code Geass. Weird name choice, but whatever. And then we got Boros from One Punch Man. And the way to get all of these units, and oh, also, sorry, I forgot to mention, Boros is a ranger unit, and he was the best unit of this update. The new game mode where you got all these units in was the swarm event mode, and this was, again, this was nothing special of a game mode. It's just another 2-wave activity where a boss with a lot of health spawned in at the end, and this boss was Boros, and the only thing that really made it hard on release was that he had regen abilities when he killed one of your units. And there were units like Judo Priest that stopped healing, and Guts that I believe nerfed the healing of Boros, but these units still weren't used that much to like conquer the boss. It was just full out DPS and, you know, some support here and there. But, you know, Akuma was really good for this event. Of course, Boros was good for the event if you happen to get him. You would get leaves from this swarm event, which, you know, could go to the fall shop that was added, where you could get capsules or whatever you want. Everybody's buying the capsules. And to get Boros, it was, what was it, like a 1 in 25,000, I think. There was a pity of, again, I think 25,000 capsules, but he was very rare. And at first, you know, you think, okay, well, he's very good, so it's obviously worth the grind, but you'll find out soon when we go into other updates that that really wasn't the case. But there were more character missions that were added for Rascal, for Phaeton, and for Lelouch, but I'm pretty sure the Phaeton quest is still bugged. I think it's actually still bugged. I'm not 100% sure on this, but you can let me know. And if you did complete, oh, and there was a Boros quest, I forgot to mention that. And if you happen to complete all of these quests, you would get the Soul of Cyclops, which is a pretty good soul. And the thing is, since the quest was bugged, nobody could get the Soul of Cyclops, so the dev team just gave out a code that gave it for free, which is insane. This was later on, like in later updates. I think it was only in the last update that this happened, but that's just insane to me that a reward that you were supposed to get behind quest steps just got given out for free because they couldn't fix the quest step that was bugged. I don't understand. I don't. There was a new infinite mode that also gave leaf currency. This was meant for more like early game or mid game players that couldn't do the boss event because it was too hard, or sorry, the swarm event. So I think this is a pretty good addition. Can't really complain about that. It didn't really give that many leaves. You would have to do this a lot more. Like, it's way more efficient to just do the swarm event if you can, even on like a lower clear time. But I mean, don't forget there was also an event battle pass for the swarm event itself. So yeah, the rewards are good for the premium battle pass, but that's another 600 Robux or something you gotta spend for a battle pass, like really. So overall, pretty solid update. I would give it a great, but the amount of rewards you got from those capsules was overwhelming, to be honest, and kind of ruined the economy. And, you know, of course you can argue that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. This game's just for fun, and it's fun to be overpowered and have everything. But I still think it caused an issue where now things have to go in a different direction. Even if that direction is good, it's, you know, it still caused a change in everything. So I will put it, if I'm trying to compare it to everything that's in good, I'll probably keep it in great. It's everything people were wanting. Easily AFKable game mode. You know, you get a lot of rewards. That's probably what a lot of people wanted. So I think it's safe to keep it in great. Now, moving on to the solo leveling update. Okay. This update technically introduced 7 more units, but there was like Sungjin Woo, Igris, and Beru that just got evolutions. So if you want to count them as new units, I guess you could. But we got a double Sungjin Woo evolution. He instantly became the best unit in the game for almost little to no work, while Boros got completely gutted, basically. Now, he didn't get gutted, but Sungjin Woo was at so much of a higher level than Boros for almost little to no work that you had to do to get Sungjin Woo compared to Boros. So it was just insane, the power creep that went into this update. But moving on, we did get you know, a Beru evolution. We did get Cha-In from the banner. Got an Igris evolution, and we got 3 Evangelion units, with them being Asuna, Rei, and Shinji. They're just whatever units not used. Igris isn't really used. I think Beru's sometimes used, and then Cha-In is just nope, not at all. But there were, again, new story and ranger stages, and there was a new infinite mode for every story map that apparently gives soul fragments, but I did like a wave 60 run and did not get soul fragments. So I don't know what was happening there. I don't think anybody does this specific infinite mode. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. Like I mentioned, new battle pass, and that was about it. And the only quality of life I think that was added was cursed fingers being added to the swarm event capsules. That's about the only thing I think happened. There was eventually a patch a couple days later that buffed a lot of the units and fixed a couple things. I'm not going to really go over that. I'm already talking for way too long. But overall, this update probably just, again, another average update. Even if it is kind of a problem that Sungjin Woo was this good, I still had fun getting him, so that's all I can really say. So I'll probably put this at the top of good. Don't think it was great, but just a pretty okay update for sure. Oh, now we're at my favorite part of the video, the fairy tale update. Before I even speak, it's going into never again, okay? I never want to see an update like this ever again. This is infinitely times worse than the second worst update in the game. which is the Dragon Ball Z update. Okay, I want to point that out. This update was so atrocious, it's not even funny. We got 5 new units, with them of course being Fairy Tail units: Natsu, Lucy, Urza, Zaref, Jalal, and I believe only one of these units was good. It's whoever Celestial Mage is. I don't know his anime name, but whoever that is, I think he was the only good one, and he still isn't even used now. The new game mode itself was a fun game mode. It was a good concept, but the thing is, you were supposed to get portals from this game mode that would allow you to get a majority of the units, and you know, like ARX fashion, the portals weren't dropping at a fixed rate. Even if you got all the way up in the game mode and were supposed to get a guaranteed portal, a portal wasn't dropping. This basically meant that there was no point in playing the update. You couldn't get a portal, you couldn't get majority of the characters that were in that portal. There was literally 4 units in that portal, and I think Celestial Mage was dropped in the adventure game mode itself, not the portals. So the portals were bugged, you couldn't get any of the units, and you couldn't even like play the game modes. And I think the only reason this game didn't drop down to more than 2,000 players is because the Swarm event was still in the game. And that's what everybody was basically grinding. This update was just so bad, and this was insane. I just realized I don't think I've been saying the update numbers, and I've only been saying like the anime names for the updates, so I apologize for that. And there were a lot of mini patches to fix a lot of the bugs, and then eventually there was a like little major quality of life update that brought in unit reworks that were promised for like over a month at that point, and it also gave us a game mode to farm some new best in slot gears, and that's about it. With a dungeon and 20 reset on top of that, like this update just should have had all that to begin with. Just the fact that there were so many mini patches afterwards to fix everything says it all. So I'm not going to individually cover, you know, that 6.7 update. I'll just leave it with the 6.5, even though I think the 6.7 was a decent step in the right direction. Now moving on to the last update of this video, which was the 7.0 or Fate update. This came out like 3 days ago as of recording. This was all right. There was a little community backlash along with this update as well. When is there not? But we got 6 new units, with them being Gilgamesh, which was another ranger unit, Saber Altar, which is an evolution, Ishtar, Archer, Arc, and Kiritsugu. The only notable ones I will say is Gilgamesh. This was probably the only notable unit, maybe Ishtar and maybe Archer. That's about it. There were 2 new game modes, with one of them being the Holy Grail War game mode. You were supposed to like survive 50 waves, but that was bugged, and Gilgamesh, which is like the final boss, comes out right away and you just melt him in like a minute. And from this game mode, you can get fate potions, which you were supposed to use to help gain better odds at getting Gilgamesh on the gem banner, because that's how you were originally supposed to get him. But people were complaining so much that the devs actually added a drop chance for Gilgamesh inside of the Holy War Grail game mode. But what is he, like still a 0.05% chance to get? I still don't have him. Yeah, this is, you know, a little annoying on my end. But there was a new Grail dungeon game mode, basically the same thing as a dungeon already, just a different map, different rewards. You get fate chests instead of platinum chests. You can get, like, I believe Kiritsugu. You can get Archer from these chests. And then Arc, I should have mentioned earlier, is a banner unit. Nobody uses her. And the only quality of life change really that was in this update was that the Valentine and Black Reaper gear sets got buffed. These were added in the 6.7 update. I quickly went over because these gears weren't good on release. And yeah, they finally got fixed to an actual usable standpoint. That's about it. We're finally at the end here, so I don't know where I'm going to place this. I've been recording for a while now, so I'm like, my voice is starting to go, but we'll put this update specifically, not Never Again. I'm just putting it here for now. This was, again, this is just another meh update. I'm going to be real. Like, I'm going to put it below the Berserk update. I'm going to put that right below the second place in meh. So yeah, that's where the tier list stands at the end. I think I'm trying to look over just to see if I think anything needs to be changed, but I think this is a pretty fair ranking. At the top, we got Steel Ball Run and the Summer Event updates, probably both the best updates this game has seen in my opinion. And then at the bottom here, we got Dragon Ball Z and the Tokyo Ghoul update in bad, and then the Fairy Tail update in Never Again. Yeah, the Fairy Tail update, worst update this game's ever seen. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Pretty balanced graph. Sorry if I lost some energy at the end of this video. I'm just talking too much. Let me know what you guys think of this tier list, what you would change, and you know, what you agree with, what you disagree with. If you're even hearing this, thank you so much for watching. Maybe just skip to the end, but like either way, thank you for clicking on the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Trying to get to 500 subs by the end of the year. You know, if you want to sub, I would really appreciate that. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.